because we've been so all over the place.
Yep.
All right. We are live. Welcome back. Special edition this week. We waited until Friday, partially because I had some stuff going on, but mostly because there was some basketball tonight. So we're going to do a little super show here, go over basketball and football. You guys know Dragon. We brought Jazz on again this week. Dougie had something come up last minute. Everything's good. You know, he's all good, but he couldn't be on. So we pivoted last minute, got our guy Jazz back again. It's all good. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I thought TW was going to come here and we'd be two halves of a fresh, but it didn't work out. So I'm half fresh right now.
We're going to have a fresh going for us.
Yeah, it's good. We'll still have fun. So who's fresh off a home, I guess you can call it victory. I mean, it's a scrimmage, but they played like a real game. Everything
It's 0-0.
just like an actual game. I mean, it doesn't count for the record, yeah, obviously, but maybe some positiveness coming from that. How much of that did you guys get to watch? So I sat and I watched pretty much the whole thing. How much did you guys see?
I saw about half.
Same. I think I tuned in like right at the start of the second half ish. Could take a minute or two in, and yeah, I watched most of the second half.
I mean, the only takeaway I could take from that was it's their second game or their second scrimmage where they were actually playing at game speed. And so, I mean, you really can't take much away from that other than they're trying to get used to each other. I was just telling you guys before we got on the air, my wife was like, oh, how'd that guy do last year? He wasn't there. How about that guy? He wasn't there. I had to literally say there's one person that was on the court at all that even played last year. So you should take that into account, I think, on setting expectations or what you should take out of that game specifically. Now, individually, you could look at individual players, but I think as a collective whole, I don't think there's much you can say, well, they didn't look cohesive, which I said, but they didn't look cohesive. And it's just difficult for anybody to look cohesive after one game, I think, unless you're just super jelly and you're super like, this is the team. We're that team. But I don't think that's the team we've got right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I'll say to that is I felt like there was an effort, a pretty cohesive effort to get up the floor. But from there, I didn't see a lot of like trying to generate easy looks, especially getting to the basket. It felt like it was more of a let's get up the court and try to get a quick three and, you know, get an open three. I mean, obviously they weren't trying to take super contested shots or anything terrible. But for me, like that style in itself, I think can lead to a real streakiness, especially at the college level. You know, obviously, I mean, some of these guys might have played professionally overseas, but like they're not NBA guys. They're just knocking everything down lights out, right? Like that's the type of thing that to me, I think it can be tough on people, especially adjusting from what we used to have at, you know, a very methodical pace to now running up the court, you know, jacking up some shots. Not that they're horrible looks, but, you know, a lot more than we normally see. I think it can be an adjustment for people, especially when they start playing some pretty, you know, maybe some decent teams that could build up a little bit of a lead on them. I think there's going to be a lot of give and take to this season, a lot of flow that I think people are going to have to adjust to.
Yeah, I mean, it was jarring for me to watch it, to be honest with you. I'll tell anyone, I've paid very little attention to this team in terms of what's come out about them leading into this season, just because, quite frankly, the football team's been more interesting in college football. It's just my bag. So this is the first time I've really watched any significant clips. I haven't watched the practice clips that have come out. And it's very strange watching them move the ball up and down the court the way they are. It's just a bit of an adjustment. It's also just a hard adjustment as a fan to see essentially 8 faces that I've never seen before at any given moment. You know, I know Eli and I know Chances because he's been around the program for so long. I've had a chance to be around him when he was at Stab. But, you know, there's a lot of like, oh, yeah, I've heard of this guy, but, you know, I've only read about him on a forum. I've only read about him in some recruiting article. I never actually watched a lot of film on him. And so, yeah, it was jarring. It's a different pace, but I think I'm with you, Jazz. It's one of those like, you know, I took away some stuff from some individual skills from myself and some individual players, but like I don't really know how to. This is where I wish like a Habs or Fresh were here to talk with us about like what to take away, what to watch for in a basketball scrimmage. Like I know in a football scrimmage, like you're not going to show a whole lot. You know, if I'm watching, you know, spring day ball game, it's a lot of vanilla offense, a lot of kind of just go through the motions. Even if they're playing Coastal in week 1, it's the same thing. It's essentially a scrimmage for most college teams. And so I'm not too upset about what I saw because I'm like, yeah, scrimmage 2, nothing really matters. They got out there, they got to play 40 minutes in a real basketball setting with, look like a couple thousand people there at JPJ on a Friday night. That's great. But I don't know. I don't know what the exact emotion is I have walking away from this game. It's not upset, but it also isn't like, oh my gosh, this is something special. It's just kind of okay, that happened. Show me something a week from now when we tip it off for real. 2 weeks from now when we tip it off for real, I guess. I'm still in wait and see mode, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm just kind of flat about it, I guess.
Well, for the last 15 years, we counted the out of conference schedule as the preseason. So actually having a preseason is like a preseason for us, right? So looking at this team, most of the time we're saying, well, we'll know what we have after the out of conference schedule. So I still think that's going to be the case. I mean, they're going to have 8-9 games to gel together. And again, this is coming from somebody that never played basketball. I look at it, and when I was watching it as a soccer guy, I'm like, this is dump and chase. And that's a terrible strategy in soccer. It's what the U.S. national team does, by the way. And what they do is they just kick the ball way over the top and hope the forwards or the strikers can get to it. It just felt like that's what we were kind of doing tonight, hoping that we would get it over the top, kick it out, and get a 3-pointer. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's even more so this year. In the past
By the way,
years, we've kind of been like,
bingo beer.
Oh, I wish I could have a beer right now. We talk about it out in past years. We kind of use the non-conference at the start of games. We play a, Middle Eastern Shore or whatever, and that's how you kind of get your rhythm. But I think it's even more the case this year because at least one thing the previous years, the last 15 years, we've had continuity. At most we've had last year's team, there might be 4 or 5 new faces on that team. But for the most part, you knew in October, you could pencil in 6 of the roster rotation players on any one of Tony Bennett's team. I don't care if it's 2014 or 2024 or 2023. This year, to your point, these guys are still meeting each other. I'm sorry. I know they've been practicing hard for the last 3 months, but, they're still introducing themselves to each other on the court in some ways. And in the case of someone who's going to play heavy minutes and play a heavy role in Mallory, he's just trying to figure out what the heck college is. And how, I know he's been around and he kind of feels like he's been around forever, but same thing with Eli for that matter. Eli's played 15 games in his career in 3 years of college. So, yeah, I mean, I think these games are important for them to try to just find a rhythm, try to figure out not only the new system, but just how each other works and how it all plays together and can they gel together before December or before January. I mean, that's going to be the $1 million question this year. And if they can, there's enough talent there, enough individual talent. I saw that, they can be a respectable team and they're a tournament level team, but they gotta figure it out, between now and January, basically. And, it's going to be up to the staff to figure out what they can do with it.
I mean, one thing I did see was based on the fact that I did live in Europe for 20 years and did watch a lot of Euro basketball. Euro basketball, the way they work is it's just constant movement. They barely hold the ball. It's a lot of passing. It's a lot of 3-pointers as well. And if you watch the 2 Euros, De Ridder and Grunlo, they worked very well together tonight. So if they can kind of build off of that type of constant movement and constant passing and actually do it well, then I think we'll have a pretty good season. The issue that I saw was when we tried to go fast and then tried to push it up to the top of the key. We lost the ball a lot. I think I saw 3 maybe where they just lost the ball. And I don't really understand how you can lose the ball that easily up at the top of the key like that. And again, I'm not a basketball guy, or a professional basketball guy. So
the backcourt scares me a little bit. That was probably my biggest takeaway. And just in terms of ball handling against pressure, I saw, like to your point, I saw too many guys getting ripped in the backcourt and they're going 90 feet the other way. That can't happen. I know they're like Virginia, they play a little bit of that token pressure kind of throughout, but I mean, we're not talking about, Avon Bradley and Rondo back there clamping you down on defense. Like it was a pretty moderate pressure. And I thought it definitely affected the Virginia offense and just getting started and getting moving around. Yeah, Jeff, I don't know watching that game. I don't know who's the point guard for the Who's right now. I especially don't know who's the point guard for the Who's once we get into a serious schedule facing, really clamp down on defenses and that's concerning to me. I also thought it was concerning on the other end of the court that the backcourt combinations were a little soft on their defensive side. And obviously, yes, this is the Virginia team. We expect a whole lot out of Virginia, even though it's a new regime, but their inability to guard a pick and roll and their communication was pretty apparent. And that's got to get fixed very quickly. Ball screens are essential in today's environment. And so you have to be able to defend them better than what they showed.
Yeah, that feels like a good thing too, right? Like to have had these issues in a scrimmage that really doesn't count for anything other than our amusement on a Friday night. Like it's so much easier now to call these things out on film. I mean, I know they've been doing those secret scrimmages for a while and that type of stuff, but I really appreciated how this one was run like an actual game. And like all the way until the end, both teams were pretty engaged and actually trying like it was going to count for something. Like I appreciated that just to give them those looks before the season gets going. I thought watching most of that second half that when Villanova went to a switching style defense where they were just kind of switching everything above the key, that we struggled a lot. We seemed really lost in what to do, and it seemed like we really slowed down too. We weren't really moving around as much, trying to generate any looks. I mean, part of that, I guess, might be style of trying to run the clock down at that point, but we looked so uncomfortable doing it was my thing. Like it didn't look natural. None of it looked to fit. I will say though, like, because I feel like I've been kind of down a little bit, I guess. There were a few stretches of that it was like the most fun basketball I've seen probably since the national championship. Like there were 3-minute bursts here and there where, they get up and they press, we get a steal, we get a dunk, we get up and we press again, we get a three, like we come down, we hit 2 quick threes, like just different things like that were kind of happening that made it more entertaining, enjoyable to watch. But at the same time, again, I just think it's going to be kind of streaky. Like I think that's going to be something we're going to have to adjust for what we're expecting as fans of like how games are going to go. Not saying it in a super negative way, but just in a like instead of a consistent flow for 40 minutes, we might have 3 minutes way up here and then a minute and a half down here and then 2 back here again, and just kind of that whole thing with it. I think.
I mean, imagine if we go up against a team that plays the pack line. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
the turntables, huh?
Yeah, flip the tables on us right there. I mean, there are a lot of teams who run more modernized versions of the pack line out there. I think you're right, Joe. I think the highs of this team in terms of excitement watching are definitely some of the most highlight reel available stuff that we've seen in probably 7 or 8 years now, if we're being honest. And so that's cool. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there's just going to be a lot of ebbs and flows in terms of how this team goes. I can see them going on. I can see them being streaky, similar to last year's team. But the difference is when they get hot, they can just be a little bit more exciting. But then it's kind of like what we saw at the end of the game tonight. Like the Who should have walked away with an easy 12-point win tonight, maybe 14 or 15. They saw that game with free throws at the end, and instead they're a 3-point heave away from going to overtime. Just because of poor execution and just kind of just janky play. Will some of that get cleaned up with experience? Of course, but they're also going to play much better opponents and much larger opponents at another point where when you have that downward 3 minutes, that other team's going to go on their run. There's going to be a 12-point run suddenly, and will they be able to answer back and kind of minimize those? How much can you minimize? They did a good job of minimizing that against Nova and holding on to that lead. It never really got cut down more than about 2 or 3. But, Nova also doesn't make the same type of plays that a Duke or a Carolina are going to be able to make. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I know I sound very down tonight. But I'm not down on this team. I think they still got a ton of potential, but I think, it does kind of give me an idea of where the watermark is for them. And I think it's just being realistic. I think we all kind of knew where it was going in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, it's just going to take some adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure based on looking at the schedule that we'll do pretty well in the out of conference tournament or out of conference season. It's just, will we be able to gel enough in that out of conference season to be able to do well in the ACC part of the schedule? And that's really whether or not we're going to do well or not. I mean, that's what happened with our football team, right? I mean, segueing to the football team is we gelled well enough in the OCONUS or the out of conference schedule. Oh man, that's an Air Force thing. Out of continental United States. Sorry, out of conference schedule. That I think that really helped us move into the ACC schedule, and that's why we're doing so well. Because if we hadn't gelled, I think it would have been the same old, same old. So hopefully that happens in the basketball as well, the basketball team as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember too, Jim bringing this in, just to keep things in perspective here. Basketball can be very, very weird in the early part of the season. Like, it's honestly probably the weirdest sport when it comes to like the difference in a team from game 1 to game 28 or whatever you want to say. So just keeping in mind, like Louisville, that's a team that people are dark horse Final Four, probably a top 10. I think they might be ranked like 11 or so. I mean, they're way up there, right? In the preseason stuff. They brought in all the big transfers, obviously talking about IMAC, and getting smacked by a Kentucky team that might be okay. I mean, I think they're highly ranked more because of name than anything at this point. I don't really know that this Kentucky roster. I mean, I haven't dug deep into it, but I don't really know that they're like a Final Four lock like prime Kentucky would be. So it's just a weird time, obviously, and we get to see it even earlier, so that contributes to some of it maybe. It'll be kind of weird, I guess. We'll go to do a preseason show, I guess, in a week or two, and we'll actually have had footage to a scene. Like, that's an interesting wrinkle for people that like to talk sports and stuff like that. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, I bag on the idea of I spent my Friday night watching a scrimmage when I could have been watching Vatech get shelled by Cal in the football field right now. But yeah, it is kind of cool that there is an actual preseason, even if it is just one game. And to your point, I did like that they actually played it like a game. Like, it actually felt like a game in there. It felt like both teams they did the rotations that way. The refs, the crowd, the whole deal. It didn't feel like the blue and white scrimmage or something like that. It felt like an actual legitimate game, which I did appreciate. And it is nice to kind of get that preview of a team where, like you said, normally, we're still kind of watching clips from Instagram or whatever on X, trying to make assumptions when the reality is we have no clue what it is. So
yeah,
I appreciate that.
Ad of stats from 10-minute segments,
Right, exactly. Or, everyone's watching the blue-white scrimmage and like, oh, this clearly means this guy's going to be the next Michael Jordan. It's like, no, I mean, yes. He played 4 minutes in a scrimmage against his own teammates in a game where really no one was really playing that. It's more than half speed. Yeah. You believe that Walker was going to make it to the Final Four this year.
It was like that season we opened up against Syracuse and we held them to like 12 points. And everyone's like, oh, we're just gonna destroy everybody, and that's not what happened. But it's something like that because neither team was ready yet.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot, especially again, and obviously the transfer portal NIL has affected basketball more so than any other sport, given what you can do with one player can just change an entire locker room, and then in Virginia's case, you have 10 or 11 new players. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see that Christopher Martin saying Nova's missing guys as well. Yeah, of course. I think everybody is more cautious in the preseason, right? So you've got to look at that and say, well, even if you got a slight nick, you're not playing. So I mean, no one's risking anything on these games. So you really can't
you gotta protect those guys.
Yeah. You really can't look at anything and say, oh, well, they would have beaten us or we would have beaten them by whatever because of the injuries or whoever was missing or whatever. So
well, yeah. Well, I mean, what was it last year? Didn't the Who's technically beat UConn in one of those closed-door scrimmages or something crazy like that?
The year before, I think it was.
Oh, it's the year before. But either way, but neither one of those teams were close to what UConn ended up being.
Right.
Especially the year before when they walked to a national championship, basically. 7 months later.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, where, like, in games like that, they're doing such, like, wonky subs. Like, obviously they'll test some stuff out in the early season, too. But, I mean, we had full line subs for the first 2 substitutions. Like, everybody comes in and out. You're mixing guys in that you're probably not going to see. I mean, truthfully, I do think that there's some truth to it. I think they will run about 10 deep just because I think the style of play is going to dictate they have to. Like, you're going to wear dudes down if you don't. But I don't think they're going to go the full 12 or 13 or, whatever it is that they're getting in these types of matchups.
Yeah. I mean,
if you look at the bench, there were 4 that had their warm-ups on with 4 minutes left. So that's 10. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, they ran their full line. I mean, I feel like he may have done some combinations that maybe won't stick, come the regular season, but to your point, to both y'all's point, they ran all their guys. They ran they came in there with 15 combinations and they ran all 15. They might narrow that down to 8, good ones by the time we get to the season. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to run 10 deep. They're going to run 11. They have to. If you're going to run that style, you're going to have guys pressing in this day and age when they're playing 40 games. Unless you want guys to just be shot by the time you get to the conference schedule in February, you better start rotating guys in and out on a regular basis. And, you're going to see, it's going to look wonky because you're going to see some guys like an Eli get 10 to 12 minutes, or you might see Chance only get, 20 minutes or 15 minutes instead of what you think, but it's just because everyone's out there doing their thing. And, but that's just the way they play now. That's the way Odom chooses to play, I should say.
Yeah, and he didn't play any of the players that I believe he's not going to play during the regular season. So,
Bingo.
Which was interesting because you would think he would try to get them on for at least a couple minutes because of the scrimmage. But at the same time, that shows that he's really trying to figure out his lineups.
Right, and I mean, yeah, I mean that's that's the interesting thing. I thought for sure too. I thought we would see some of the walk-ons come on, especially like you said, it's a scrimmage, it's a home scrimmage. You're in the crowd. They may not get a lot of chance to get in front of a crowd at JPJ, if we're being honest, this year. But that's also, it was 75-72 with a minute to go.
Yeah.
He kind of got, I did like how there's like little things like they dribble. I think, they dribble play for Chance at the end there and he had to go to the line and hit free throws. I thought that was I love that. That's a perfect learning experience for a guy like that to get in there, to shoot a pressure free throw in a kind of non-pressure situation, but it was real and he stepped up to the moment. But like, I think that's the exact type of experimentation you maybe take a chance at in a game like this to, get a young guy that get him those reps, get him that experience in that moment. And then, there's no real consequence, but he still gets the confidence out of it though, having done it now. So yeah, I think that was great.
Yeah, it was good. And we've got I think it's 10 days till the season opener. Is it November 3rd, I think, or 4th?
3rd, yeah.
3rd. They
Third
play
Ryder.
Odom's first official game. Crowd's already got to see him, but we'll get to see it for real. It'll count for the standings, for everything that we look forward to in this. Hopefully it starts out well. I mean, I don't think Ryder's a very good lower major team. So, I haven't done any research yet. Obviously, still a little far out, but that should be a pretty easy one for them to coast through. Hopefully everything goes smooth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there we go. Chris has got it here November 3rd.
You got it. There you go.
So everyone look forward to that. Like I said, this is going to be a super show, so we're going to go ahead and transition now to our football segment.
Let's talk about the real show here, the real thing in town, the straw that stirs the drink, the thing that brought us all here, Virginia football.
The swimming team. And golf's number one.
That's not a sport.
Golf's number one.
Not a sport. That's just it's an activity.
Yeah.
No, golf's the activity. I'm sorry. It's not a sport. It's a fun activity, but it's not a sport.
How weird is it to say, though, that like we're going to transition off and get excited because we're going to talk about football? Like, as a Virginia fan, this is the stuff of dreams, right? Like, it's so exciting.
I know I've said it on the show almost every week for the last month, but it is insane to me sitting down to listen to some college football podcasts today when I was doing my writing and hearing Virginia referenced time and time again as they were like, "Oh, there's the ACC sitting 2 teams to the playoff. It could be, and Virginia's in that mix. We're looking for that 12th team to the. It could be a Virginia, and like not just like an offhand comment, but like in regular conversation from several respected pundits that they're in that conversation. They're not saying it's going to happen, but it's like it's a legitimate thing. They're like, out of the 3 teams that are going to win the ACC, they're one of them, and it's insane. It's awesome. It feels amazing.
Yeah, I think having that win over Louisville is going to prove to be huge as far as like the tiebreaker stuff goes, especially because Louisville just beat Miami. Like, I think that's going to be such a ace for us to have. I think that's really going to serve us well.
Yeah, well, because there's a good chance. I don't know. I know some guys in the forums can do all the tiebreakers by heart, but I know like there's a legitimate chance that we end up with Louisville or Georgia Tech and Virginia in the championship with Miami sitting at home. So Miami's going to make it, and then the winner of Virginia. Georgia Tech's going in there. There's 1,001 permeations of it, but that win was huge. It's like you said, especially since Louisville's on the rise, and Florida State apparently just fell apart and no longer cares about playing Division I football anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. Florida State's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State a month ago, we're literally a month almost to the day, we're sitting here in Florida State in the national championship conversation, and now we're like, well, I guess we're hanging on to Norvell till the end of the season.
Yeah. But before we get too deep into the dreams of the playoff and the ACC championship and everything else, we do got to address where we've been. So for anybody that might have missed it, the CW thing is kind of weird. It makes it hard for people to catch the game, I guess. Washington State had Virginia on the ropes for a while. We were very. I mean, I thought we were sluggish. Honestly, I mean, I've said that 2 weeks in a row, so maybe I need to give Washington State more credit because I said the same thing with Ole Miss. But I felt like it was more about us not playing to a level we should have been than anything. But I guess I'll give them credit. I mean, they hung around. They were up 10 points with right at 10 minutes left. Like,
yep, 10 points with 10
really
to go.
in real trouble in that one.
I mean, I think the offense itself was the issue because our defense is going to give up points. So if the offense is sluggish, that's the issue. And that's what happened in that game where we couldn't execute our offense. And whether that's because of injuries, because of offensive line injuries, and whether it's because of, they kept saying the nagging injury for Morris's shoulder. I don't know if that's true or not. I just think a lot of people were saying that. But yeah, I think that's really what it came down to. If our offense is chugging, we can beat anybody at a boat race. It's just how do we make sure the offense keeps moving?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the turning point in the first major so I have this philosophy. I think that any game has about 4 to 5 plays in it that really make the game, and that's where it all comes down. You just don't know when they're going to come. And the first one I thought happened was in the first half. Virginia picks off Washington State. They're already up. It's 7-7. They already scored. They tied it back up 7-7. They picked them off. They had the ball on the Washington Cougar side of the field. They had a chance to, in my mind, like, oh, they're going to score here and put it away. And Morris turns it over. He throws a pick. And that opened the door that suddenly it just gave Washington State that hope. And that's the type of game against a team like Florida State, the type of play where if you make that play, they score the touchdown, they go up 14-7. It's going to quiet those Cougs down. Same thing's going to happen on Saturday tomorrow against Carolina. You convert those plays that walk through that door opportunity, it's going to shut them down, and they're going to lose hope. They're used to losing, and they're going to lose faith. Instead, they get a little bit of glimmer of light, and next thing you know, to your point, you're sluggish now, and they're hyped up, and next thing you know, it's
the 4th and 1 in the first half as well.
What's that?
The 4th and 1.
Yeah,
that's a second. That's a second play.
Yeah,
if they make that 4th and 1, they at least get a field goal out of that.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, you're talking at least 6, maybe 10 points, maybe 14 points left on the board right there in the first half. That's a whole nother ball game.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. The sluggishness of the offense really did it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Morris's shoulders messed up. That non-throwing shoulder's messed up. And I think it caused him to go into the shell a little bit on offense. They went a little too conservative. And I think I've been harping it all week. I think that's the difference in this team. You saw, Jeff just nailed it. You saw a lot of 8-man fronts. That's exactly what I was about to get to. You saw Washington State pack the box. And I don't care who your line. The line held up fine. Everyone's talking about the line. The line actually did its job. Morris was clean. There were decent holes. But when you put 8 men in the box and those safeties can come down at free will as soon as they realize it's a run play, it's just a numbers game. You can have the healthiest line in the world, but if they're sending 8 and you have 5, someone's going to get through. And I think we saw a lot of that. And the difference was in that drive, the 97-yard drive that won the game for them, essentially to set up for the win. They stretched the ball downfield again. They stretched the ball out wide again. They made that defense ask questions of itself, and they loosened those corners up. They spread those safeties back out, and all of a sudden, there were holes, and all of a sudden the running game clicked on again, and Taylor's running for 15, 20 yards a clip. And it's like, oh, well, there it is. And then you saw it again, consequently on the next series, they went back to the conservative offense, and everyone came back into the box. And unless it worked in the pass, I think you saw it in a little bit worked in the pass. It could do a little bit more RPO and put Chandler out on the edge. And he was running for those first downs against Florida State, but with their shoulder, they're a little bit more hesitant, and rightfully so, to have him pull it. And so he's having to give that handoff up the middle, and you're just getting stacked. But that's my 2 cents on it.
I think you're right. I think this offense is at its best when it can actually do both at the same time. When they can stretch them vertically while going horizontally, if that makes sense. Like when you
Mhm.
can get these plays where you have guys like Edgerrin 17 yards down the field and we're getting the ball to him over on the sideline, stuff like because I mean that's what they were running that was getting them back up the field on that drive. Like when they can do that is when they're at their best, I think, because it puts so much pressure on the defense to spread in every direction. Like all of a sudden, not only do the safeties have to be back, but they're also playing wide.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough because then it opens up those lanes you can run through and it makes it easier. I think our tight ends, I think they've done a pretty good job. Like I've been very impressed with Sage Ennis this year because I mean, obviously, like we knew the guy could block and he could hold his own there. He's been a heck of a pass catcher too,
Yeah.
and
No,
I
he's
think
been
that's
great.
been a good key that's helped them open things up a little bit more. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the play calling early in Saturday's game. Like I didn't like all the sweeps that we were trying to run because at that point I didn't really think they were too stacked against us because it was like the first drive we hadn't shown that we couldn't really hit passes over the top in that one yet. I mean, obviously, Washington State adjusted and they did well with it. But even like you guys were talking about the 4th and 1, like that play call I thought was terrible. Like we have a running back who's getting 5 yards a carry and is like third in the country in touchdowns or some ridiculous number. Like, how do you not just hand him the ball and just let him pick up 3 feet?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they did that. They went back to him in the fourth, and it worked. So
Hmm.
there you go. It's. I mean, I don't know why at this point, if it's short yardage for the Who's, if they don't just run that direct snap and let
Yeah.
Taylor and Morris play that will he pitch it, will he not pitch it game. The one they ran in the fourth quarter was beautiful. I mean, he literally stopped in the backfield, and the whole defense was frozen because they didn't know who to go with, and then he high stepped 4 yards up the middle. But yeah, I do. Dez is going to Dez. I think sometimes he does. I think sometimes he does overthink himself a little bit. I think sometimes we try to get a little too cute with the play calling. When we could just, when they're at their best, they're running inside zone and just coming right downhill and
Yeah.
mixing it up with a little bit of eye candy and the movement from from the receivers and from the tight ends. But it's not that. I think they're at their best when they're coming downhill.
I mean, we put ourselves at a disadvantage because we play shotgun almost exclusively. So you do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
that play call on the fourth was a shotgun, and then he tried to hand it off, right? And so if there's any penetration, right? Again,
Yeah, I mean that's for better or for worse. That's football now.
yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. But no one goes under center anymore, hardly. Everyone. It's just the way it is. Most of the quarterbacks don't even know how to get under center at this point because they spent their entire prep career out of shotgun. Um, I I do agree when it's 4th and inches. I would rather see someone under center and just go for it, but I don't mind it as much. At least I would like to see us use our pistol. Maybe for the back has a little bit of momentum coming into it, but what you gonna do?
Well, do keep in mind too that Brosterhouse isn't there because I feel fairly for certain we would have seen him in most of these situations.
That's
And
a
I mean,
fair
we
point.
all know that that's what it is. But I don't. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really think it's fair to just say that they can't take a snap under center because the snap under center specialist isn't there either. Like I've always had an issue with it. I mean, even like when Bronco was coaching, that we couldn't take a snap under center. And honestly, I think it frustrates me more now knowing that like these guys have NIL. So like I understand they're not like professionals, but at the end of the day, they're getting paid to play the sport, however you want to twist or turn the NIL term of that. Like to think that they're making money doing this and they can't take a snap, like I just think that's crazy. It drives. I mean, I get what you're saying about them not doing it their entire lives, but it also drives me nuts that like they have world class facilities, training, coaching, everything, and we can't like mix that in to teach them to do it. I mean, I
No, I
don't
mean
know.
it's there. I mean, obviously Morris is more than capable enough. He can take a snap under center, and the plays are there. But I mean, it's also when you run 90% of everything out of the gun, and everyone knows that, and you suddenly go under center, it eliminates a whole lot of that air of suspicion of what's coming. Versus they do have a lot of wrinkles when they're in the shotgun. They do have the direct
Yeah.
snap play. They do have guys in motion. They can run out a pistol. They can do a lot of different things. So it's almost like they just don't do enough of it to really make it the wrinkle work as well as it probably should work.
That's a fair point. Let's see.
But
I don't know. What do you think on this? Do you think they were really trying to get vanilla? I mean, I don't know because I feel like at this point in the season, there's so much riding on every game. I mean, obviously, like nobody expects us to make the playoff, right? Like as a fan, like if they drop a game, it's not the end of the world for me. Like it's not Alabama or Florida State after they beat Alabama, right? Where I'm just going crazy. But I mean, for this team, like they have something to believe in. Like they know the stakes, right? Like they have to realize, like if they can hold this thing together, like crazy, unrealistic dreams could happen for them.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think you don't show necessarily everything, just or you may want to. This is a chance to show something a little bit off. But I think there's also probably the scout just isn't as in depth on an out of conference team that you don't have years and years of film on and years of experience going against. And you're not going to put a ton of effort into it either. I mean, you're going to put effort into it, but you're not going to put the same amount because the game's just not as valuable. Like the Who's could have lost on Saturday in the ranking when they're taking the hit, but their shot at winning the ACC doesn't change at all.
Right.
Whereas tomorrow they need to win to keep it on top of the conference. So there's a little bit of a difference in prep there. That's a fair point.
Well, I mean, I remember in high school with soccer, the opposing coaches would actually send the tapes across like 2 days beforehand. I mean, I don't know what they do now. I mean, if that's still a thing or not.
Yeah, they did that when I was playing as well in football. They would meet up on a Sunday the week before, and we send a guy over there the week before or whatever.
But I feel like you can just get it without having to worry about doing that now. So, I mean.
No, I mean, you can get the film. It's all there. But, I mean, again, it's how much of your staff's time are you going to put into it when they should be prepping for Carolina, which is just a more important
game, I get
quite
it.
frankly.
Yeah.
Especially if you got a new regime down there, you got to figure out what they're up to.
Yeah. We'll pick up speed a little bit and we'll go to that Carolina game. Obviously, everybody came into this season wondering what is Carolina going to be. Bill Belichick took the job. They brought in a ton of transfers. I think maybe the biggest transferred roster in the sport. Like the whole team basically is a transfer. And so far, they honestly, they had the Monday night opener against TCU, and they had one drive where it was like, oh my gosh, maybe these guys are legitimate. And then it just seems like the entire thing fell apart after that. I mean, they've been honestly downright terrible. They had they put up a good fight against Cal last week in one of those weird, like super late games, but ended up not being able to pull it off. I'm with Jeff. I think Bill does look a little lost out there. But he's also still Bill Belichick, right? Like he's still a coach that's got all of the Super Bowls, has accomplished just about everything there is to accomplish. And it kind of does feel like at some point he's going to get at least one decent win, right? Like, I don't think they're horrible, don't beat anybody all year. What do you think, Jazz?
I mean, they should have technically won last week. I mean, yeah. I posted that play that they where he fumbled the ball while he's running into the end zone with a guy coming from behind and punching it out of his arms. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a fool's gold last week because they totally should have won that game based on that one play. And that's just those intangible plays. It's just like the stuff that happened to us in the Washington State game, intangibles, right? We just have this will to win. We're talking about gumption, and we're talking about, I don't see that drive in the basketball team yet. Well, they have that drive in the football team. When does it kick in every game? That's up in the air. And we saw how it kind of kicked in the fourth quarter last week, but we definitely have that intangible of we're going to find a way to win, and North Carolina does not. And that's the difference right now.
Yeah, I think Chris here might be onto something too. So for those who might not keep up with the reports and everything, it sounds like Cam Ross is out for tomorrow. I think I saw. So
yep, that's what Jack is reporting. If
there were ever a time for Trell Harris to have a big Trell Harris game, this would be it, because he's going to basically fill the need for that. And Carolina, truthfully, is a team that they're kind of okay against the run, but they're pretty awful against the pass. So it's a spot where if we can get things opened up and get Trell moving, it could really benefit. I mean, that could be a big key to the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I've watched Carolina 3 times this year now. I'm watching the opener against TCU, and it looked like gangbusters in the first drive, and then it absolutely disappeared. I watched them in the Clemson game for the first half, which just because it was humorous to watch a bad Clemson team just destroy them. And I watched all of them against Cal last week, which is probably the most telling because Cal's closer to our level, if not a little bit below where the Hoos are playing right now. And that Carolina defense is not great. to your point, Josh. They don't cover the pass very well. I don't think they've been asked a lot to defend the run, and when they have, like Clemson kind of had their way with them for the most part. But for that being Belichick's baby, I've not been impressed by them at all this season. Yeah, Jeff. I mean, for everything I hear coming out of Carolina right now is that entire campus is a mess, and the fan base has already moved on. They're listening to basketballs and watching they're all in basketball mode already. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really wants to be there. That's just a poorly run regime right now. Offensively, my gosh, Gio is bad. Like, I hate to call out a kid like that, but my goodness, he is not good at all.
Well, I think in fairness to him, it was his first game back, right? He's been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, but he wasn't good before he left.
I guess that's fair. Okay. You got me on that. Can't say much to that.
I mean, I would normally go along with you on that, but I mean, I wasn't impressed with them in week one. I haven't been impressed with them just at all. And like looking at his stats, I mean, you're looking at a guy who's completing 59% of his passes or 500 yards, almost 600 yards, 5 yards an attempt. Like that's high school stuff. Like I know he missed some time, but that's just, you can't be a Division I quarterback and expect to do that. And in the way that the Virginia defense is kind of locking in on the front four right now, like they can have a field day with that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They really can. And so, I'm hoping that we get out early. I'm hoping that they start early. Yeah, he is like 4'1". My wife was watching the game with me last night. And she was like, or last week, and she was like, "Is that a quarterback?" I was like, "Yeah, you can hardly even see him there in the huddle. Look at him." She's like, "That's crazy." Like, yep, I don't know how he gets a pass off. But yeah, I mean, for me, this is a game where I would almost, if I was Virginia, I would want to. It's normally I'm always say you defer to kickoff. I would say no. Let's take the kickoff first one. Let's put our offense on the field. Let's get that going early.
Mm-hmm.
Score, establish ourselves, and then just put that belt to them early. I think this is the game where you don't want to leave them around in it. You don't want to, we've had enough nail biters the last 3 weeks. Let's reassert our dominance right here and get started to a strong start on offense, an aggressive start on offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is probably of the teams left on the schedule the most likely that you could deflate quickly. Like if you get up on them, that they're going to fold the fastest. So
100%.
I agree with that. I think taking the ball and just shoving it down their throat, getting a touchdown. I wouldn't even be opposed to going for 2, really. I mean, just try to put it on them as quickly as you can, just to try to put them away.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team that, like Jeff said, they're not together. I don't think they've really backed the staff. I don't think the staff is really that invested right now with this particular iteration of the team. And I think, if you can go out there early, I mean, it's what happened against Clemson. They folded before the end of the second quarter. And I'm not saying that Virginia's Clemson, but they can put up points the same way. There's no reason. This is a team that at one point was averaging over close to 30 points and a half. And there's no reason they can't get up early and just, protect the ball, be smart with it, but just get downfield. Let that offensive line is healthy again. Let Wilson and them just lean on them. And they'll quiet down. And then off defensively, Carolina's sloppy. They had 3 turnovers last week, and they're careless turnovers. So, I mean, those aren't even bad. I mean, fumbles are just inexcusable. And so,
So Captech said he's only 4 feet tall. That my best friend in high school was the backup quarterback, and he was the backup quarterback because he couldn't see through his linemen. And I never even thought of that, right? But he goes, well, in college, the linemen actually open up space, and the pros open up space
gaps in between
see through the passing lanes. He goes, they don't do that in high school, so I can't see over the linemen. So that could be a problem. If they're not disciplined on the line, then he's not going to be able to see his passing lanes because they're not opening them for him. So
it's a very real. There's a reason why guys like Kyler Murray get questioned when they go into the NFL, no matter the fact he won a Heisman. There's a reason why a guy like Drew Brees drops and doesn't get picked up for a lot in the NFL. When you're 6 foot tall or 5'10" and everyone in front of you is 6'7", it's hard. Like your lane, even if the line is spread, you're now throwing through a lane this big instead of seeing over it and having the lanes that a Josh Allen has when he's 7'9". You just throw over.
I mean, 7'9", you don't need a passing lane. You can see over all your lines.
Exactly. So. And I mean, it's the angle of the ball coming out. It's just much harder. I mean, think about what's what's his name on the end for us? He's 6'7". Like he was smacking balls down like crazy. Like that's real. That's a pain in the butt to get around. And so, a quarterback like that's at a disadvantage unless they're incredibly sharp and incredibly tight with their fundamentals. And if they're not, it gets exposed very quickly at this level.
Does. We say all this though, like honestly, Chandler Morris, I think, is like 5'10" too. So I mean, he's not like the biggest guy in the world.
No, he's not a big quarterback.
He's just better dealing with it.
Yeah, he is.
But our
he's
line's
got
not
more
doing bad
fundamentals.
either, and so they're pushing. They're opening passing lanes for him, right? So he can see through them.
Yeah, and that's why when he goes downfield, he typically rolls out a little bit to create some space, and that's how you have to play those things. And I mean, it's not uncommon to have a 5'10" quarterback, especially in Division I college. But I mean, I think Gio's pushing 5'8" in all reality, and geez, they're listing him at 6 foot. That's a lie if I've ever saw one. Zero chance he's 6 foot tall. He's 6 foot tall with 3/4-inch cleats on concrete, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, we will see. I think was the line for this one. I think it was at 9.5. Is that right?
I saw it at 10.5 this morning.
Okay.
It opened at 10.5. It's been sitting on that pretty steady. There's just not a lot of money coming in from it, from what I've seen from my folks. But it's I made my picks earlier today. I actually took Carolina in the picks because 10.5 it's a big number, and it's kind of what happened last week. I talked about it last week before the game. I was like, the Who's could win comfortably and not cover to 17. They didn't win comfortably, but they didn't cover 17. But I think the Who's could win. I hope I'm wrong, but I just in case they get off to a slow start. And then I took the over, which is at 53.5, 54.5, just because I do believe if the Who's do cover the 10.5, they're going to blow it out and it's going to be points on the board. You're saying looking at a 35, 38 to 17 sort of game, something like that. But I can see this one easily. I can see the Who's easily winning this one, and it's 32, 35 to 7, something like that.
Yeah. If they get an early start, the whole field will tilt in their favor. That's really what's going to happen.
100%.
But
the first quarter is
when you're going to have to start worrying, similar to what happened to Washington State.
Yeah. The first quarter will tell us everything we need to know about this game. They come out of the first quarter and they have 14 points on the board. Pack it up. They're gonna run through it. But they come out of the first quarter and it's 7-7 or 10-7. You're gonna have a game like last week where it's gonna be a little touch and go, and it's gonna take they're gonna have to show that resolve that you were talking about earlier to find a way to win the game late.
Yeah, I think that probably sounds about right. I don't think this is one where like 10 points really sounds like a thing. Like I think it feels like they're either going to win by 3 or they're going to win by like 20-ish. I don't know that I feel like there's going to be like a steady in between on that.
Yeah,
and I feel like you're right. I feel like we will know very, very quickly which way it's going to go.
Yeah,
I mean, we get to see Kalen for the whole fourth quarter, right?
What's that?
We get to see Daniel Kalen for the whole fourth quarter.
Oh man, that would be great, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would just help us because, like, getting him in there for quarters is
he could use the reps.
Extremely helpful for next year.
Morris getting an extra 30 minutes of rest before they get ready to ship out west next week would be amazing. That said, Cal is losing to Vautech right now, or at least it's tied. I got it on here on the second screen.
2020 a second ago.
2020, yeah, still 2020. Going into the fourth, so. I have a lot of thoughts on Cal as well. I've been watching him a lot more for the last couple of days, but I'll save that for next week's show when we get there. I'm not looking ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that one. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
You're right. I've seen you post on forum. It is absolutely going to be a 10:30 game. I don't care that they haven't announced it. I can tell you right now, we are getting the late night spot just because that's the way it is.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes the most sense for the TV network to put us on there. It's on. They got to fill that time slot no matter what, and they may as well fill it. They're not filling it with the Stanford game that no one's going to watch. You got a chance to put a ranked team in there that people actually are starting to watch a little bit. So yeah, we're getting that, and then because you got SMU and Miami taking the early spot. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're getting that. We've talked about game day a lot. Unless game day ESPN is going to give us a gift for the Wake game, we ain't getting game day to Charlottesville. I wish I was wrong, but yeah,
we will see. There's still a little bit of opportunity, especially if we can win both games and if Wake can win their games. I think Wake they host SMU tomorrow. I believe it is.
Yeah, they got SMU tomorrow. They're a 3-point dog, I want to say.
Yeah, I think that's
Three
right.
and a
But
half.
they're at home, so I mean they could pull it. And next thing you know, they get a hapless Florida State, who I think Jeff asked earlier, when's the last time they won a game? It was all like a year and a half ago or
I
something.
must
At
say,
this
it
point,
wasn't.
like
Yeah, it was like
so
it was
long
maybe
ago.
2 years ago, right? It might have been the missed playoff opportunity season.
Yeah, I think at some point I heard that it was like 370 days, so we're probably coming up on 400 days at this point.
Yeah, yeah, because I think you're right. 'Cause I want to say it was something like the joke going into like the Virginia game was it had been like a little over a year because they didn't win one at all last year,
Mhm.
so it has to go back to the 23 season or 24 season, 23 season, I guess it was. And yeah, and then they've lost 4 in a row now here. Yeah, it's gonna that's a dumpster fire of a place right there where you just have them waiting to see how many times they have to pass the hat until they can finally afford to buy out their coach.
Mhm.
Because unlike their neighbors to the east or to the west, or no, to the east, I guess it is in Gainesville Southeast, they can't afford to buy out their coach mid-season right now. So
Yeah, we'll see. That's going to be a wild opening. I've seen some rumors floating around with Florida, and it sounds like they really have a lot of money they're throwing into this. So we'll see what they end up doing. That's going to be one. I think the one to watch the most, maybe even more than Penn State. Really.
yeah, I've heard some weird names around Penn State, but I mean both of them have a ton of money that they can go throw at it. I think Florida's more willing to kind of go outside of the box, whereas I think Penn State's going to stay a little bit more traditional with their hire, whichever direction they decide to go.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it's going to be a wild off season. You're going to have a handful of SEC jobs open, a handful of ACC jobs open. Um, I got a couple Pac-12 or not Pac-12, Big 12 jobs open. I assume Oregon State already fired their coach. I guess there's one Pac-2 opening already, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a wild all season, especially again with like some of these places, how much money they're willing to spend, how much money they have available to them. Um, and then you got places like Indiana are setting the market at $13-14 million a year for a coach, which is just insane. So,
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to touch on before we sign off for the week. Speaking of money, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but there was another multi-million-dollar donation. It didn't say the exact amount. I think the exact words were multi-million, and it was an anonymous. I think they called him friend of the program.
yeah, friend of the program. Yeah.
So
Friends are
I
good
don't
to
know.
have.
It didn't even seem like there was any like guide to what that person wanted that money to go to, other than just to the football program. Because I think there was
Yeah.
one earlier, like at the very beginning of the year, that was like somebody donated a couple $1 million, but they wanted to go to like the nutrition side and like the health side, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
Pay
whatever.
for the new
Um,
cafeteria or whatever for the
yeah, I don't.
players.
I don't think this one had anything going into it. What we got there? Somebody says they heard 13 million. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anything officially saying otherwise, but
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know
yeah,
what the number is, but first of all, I just want to
Somebody just needed to get Elon Musk to be excited about some team. Maybe we got him. Maybe we got
well, I hope it's not Elon. I will say this though, for
him.
everyone
take the Michigan route.
Yeah.
a Carla hater, suck it. My girl's bringing in cash and revitalizing this program. She's doing exactly what an AD is supposed to do, and that's three major gifts that have turned around a program and turned around the athletic department in less than 12 months. It's kind of unheard of when you think about it, and it also just goes to show you, like I said at the top of the show, the straw that stirs the drink. When you get these things rolling, good things happen, and people want to get involved with it and stick with it. And I think, like I said in the forum, I think Indiana has shown us a blueprint of what can happen when a school puts money and effort into it and makes the right choices with said money and effort. And I think we're seeing the early stages of that as well. And so it's pretty daggone exciting.
And
Yeah, I
we
seen
we have some incredible alumni. So I mean, it's just finding them and getting them excited.
Yes, giving them something to believe in, giving them something that they want to, to get behind. And I think, you look at it, Tony Elliott's a very affable person. He gets it. You don't spend as long as he did at Clemson and not understand how to work with donors and do the handshaking and do all that sort of stuff. What he stands for is pretty hard to not get along with him, quite frankly. And so I think he does his part. Carla's good at raising money, quite frankly. I don't care what people say. She just is. And she's proven it time and time again across the university. And, to your point, now you have the results on the field. People see it like, oh, you give them, because that's the thing. You can give a whole lot of money to a program and you can be Auburn, or you can be Ole Miss last year, or you can give a lot of money to a program that has a plan and has the right people in place, and suddenly that starts to work out, and you become Indiana, you become Texas Tech. It's kind of on a similar thing right now, thanks to their billionaire donor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're seeing. You give them something to believe in. There's money to be had in the UVA alumni base. It's just giving them something to hang on to.
Yeah, I think it was Preston tweeted it out, or X'd it out, or whatever you call that now. But there were 4 donations that were starting from last December. So I think there were like 2 in December. There was one in like early September, and then this one. Those donations, if you each like put together, raised more money than the last 8 years of UVA football raised combined. So just those 4, not counting anything else that's been raised through any of the VAF or anything, just those 4 donations raised more than the total of 8 years. Would you think back 8 years? I mean, that's what, 2017 we're talking? So that was like that. This is all including like the good part of Broncos tenure.
Yeah, that's peak Bronco season going into it. That's Bronco still as a new coach, basically 2 years in or something like that. So yeah.
So we've raised more in the last, 6 months than Virginia Tech has said they're supposed to be raising?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, literally.
I'm just joking. But yeah, I mean, there's all these schools that have these like master plans, and they're saying they need to figure out how to get all this money, but somehow we're getting it, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and they're investing it wisely. I mean, that's the thing. You saw Florida State. It's a perfect example. They raised a ton of money 2 years ago to pay for new facilities, and they invested in facilities instead of investing in staff and players. So they have all these shiny new buildings now, and they needed to upgrade. Doak was terrible, and they needed new facilities. But now they have no money, and they have a coach they need to buy out. They need to re-overhaul a roster, and they're essentially having to sit on a coach for a whole year that they don't want just for this reason. They didn't invest that money that they got wisely when they got it. And I think, to Chris Martin's point right here, like Virginia's done a good job of splitting that money between finishing off the upgrades to the facilities and also finding the right players and finding the right coaches and making sure the contracts are laid out in a smart manner. It takes a united front.
Yeah, what is it? What I've seen the quote that it says that of the 11 active teams right now, or 11 active programs at UVA, 10 of them are ranked in the top 25. So that's pretty good right now, right? I mean, you can't say anything bad about that. No one's getting fired in the athletic department for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't really be upset about that, what's going on, especially since a lot of them are coming, out of dark horses as well. And again, it's just they've done a good job of reinvesting in themselves and investing the money smartly, whether it be facilities, players, coaching staffs, personnel. And that's the trick. You get the facilities done, and then you invest in your personnel. You invest in the personnel. You make smart hires. You don't make flashy hires all the time. You give those hires a little bit of a time to actually, we're lucky that we're fortunate that we have a fan base that allows them to grow a little bit, and
And let's just hope volleyball gets it done. We need to become the Nebraska Virginia volleyball team, just like Nebraska playing in Scott Stadium.
Hey, I mean, we bring 50,000 people, whatever it is, to a volleyball game. I'm fine with it. I joke around about how the money's spent and where it's going. Like, I don't care. Like, as long as it's being spread apart, as long as our power programs are able to continue to do what they do at a high level, so that they're raising money. And at the end of the day, football runs the show.
Yep.
If we have a strong football program, it'll rise. The tide will rise for all the other ships.
Yep.
It's just the way that it is. Again, you can't tell me that Duke or Kansas doesn't want. It's clear that Duke wants a power football team. They're invested in it, and they're trying hard. Kansas too. Like, all that basketball success is nice, but you want that football money. You want those football contracts to come in for they can take care of themselves, and that money trickles down to everything else. And that just makes all the difference. Look, again, to your point, Josh, look at the checks that have been written in the last 12 months, not even 12 months, 10 months. It's insanity.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's stuff that we've definitely dreamed of, and we talked about this before, I think, all fair. But like, even if for the biggest critic of Elliott, right, that still isn't convinced, and if they were to lose a couple games, still doesn't think he should be safe or whatever the term is. At the very, very least, like there is such a good foundation now that you don't really have to worry that much over the future. Because eventually, like, I mean, they're not going to be Alabama, obviously. I'm not trying to say that, but like, they're not going to be a 2-win program anymore either. Like, they've put in so much into it, and there's such a backing now that it just feels comfortable at this point. Like, it feels like you can actually be excited and really be invested in this again.
Yeah, I mean, they made Virginia job appealing for the
Right.
first time in, I don't know, since Grow got here, where you can actually look at it and be, oh, that's a place you can go. And there's, like you said, there's enough resources there, there's investment on all the levels that you can go there and win. And you're seeing a guy win here a little bit. And that's something, that just wasn't the case. Bronco came here because he wanted to take the toughest coaching job in America or whatever. And he did his thing. And he left Elliott with nothing. London left nothing for Bronco to inherit, and Grow didn't leave a heck of a whole lot left for London to inherit. And so, there was just a lot of flaws, around the program. And now for the first time, a hungry coach who's sure of themselves could look at this and be like, oh yeah, I can make that work with that conference, especially. If I can still get the television deals and the television money that the ACC is bringing in. Well, no, it's not SEC or Big 12 money, Big 10 money. It's still better than Pac-12 money. In that weak conference, I can basically steal a spot in the playoff every year. If I can get to 10 wins, why wouldn't I take a shot at it?
Yep.
Intangible facilities, new facilities.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, you have the facilities, you have the recruiting base, you have the location, you have the television contracts, you have the money backing, and you have the softest power conference in the league. Why would you not want to take a shot at it if you're an up-and-comer who's got a legitimate resume?
Pretty light fan base that's not going to be too demanding right away. I mean, it flows very well for a coach that wants to make it happen. Which I mean, again, I hope I think he's doing great. I hope he stays, but
we're so soft we can't even pull down our own goalposts.
Well, it's because those things have been cemented in the ground since back in 2003.
Yeah, it's like what was the movie Jump Street? I think the second one where they're trying to take it down and the guy's watching because he poured like 8 feet of cement to hold him in or something.
Yeah, I mean, they fixed those things to the ground after Florida State in '95 and make sure they're never coming out again. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but that's the other thing too. Yeah, you have a very affable fan base who is reasonable because they don't have super high expectations, and they'll give you some time to grow, and they'll let you make a few mistakes. But if you do well, they will clearly get behind you and open the purse strings for you. And it's not, it's not SEC crazy where you can be Brian Kelly and be on the hot seat at 7-2 or whatever it is. So yeah.
So again, I mean, things are going well for the program, obviously, like record highs happening, great things happening. Hopefully they keep it up tomorrow. 12 o'clock, ACC Network. Virginia will be at UNC. Be sure to tune in if you can. We should be back on our regular schedule next week, I believe. I think Wednesday night should work again for the guys, so we should be back hopefully for that. But until then, go Hoos. Be ready for tomorrow.
Oh, just one admin thing. If you want to listen to this as a podcast, it is up on Spotify Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Podcast, and they will also stream out to whatever podcast app you want to look for. Just look up JB Dragon Podcast or Locker Room Access Podcast, and you'll be able to find it. Just make sure you look for the one that says JB Dragon Podcast. That's the newest one. And I've been talking to TW, and we're going to start trying to put out the older podcasts as an archive. So we'll start putting those out so you can listen to the ones, we did like, I don't know, 100 or so over the COVID time frame where there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to start pushing those out week by week as an archive, as a best of. So be looking out for that as well. All right.
That's awesome stuff there, Jazz. Appreciate that.
Go. That's why we love Jazz right there. If people wonder what he does, that's what he does right there. He makes us think. We love it.
I love you guys too.
All right. Well, we'll see everyone next week.
Appreciate it.